Okay, cool. Hey, how is everyone doing today? It's been 2 weeks. Cool. So today the topic, I think we can do two things. Oh, I will have to admit a few guests. So today the topic will be to speak about the latest features we added into now. The latest one is how to deploy now in production. And the little thing we are adding incrementally to be able to deploy more easily your context folder. So that will be the main topic of this community hour, to talk about how to deploy, what are the current options, what is the direction and the vision we are going into. So that's what we will do today. And I think maybe the best will be also if you have any question to ask it. So maybe we do like half an hour on the deployment and showcasing the latest features we added. And then if any question, any ID, stuff like this emerge, or if you have anything, we can chat. This is the goal of the community hour, to get ideas and feedback from everyone. So I'm gonna start by sharing my screen. Okay, I will allow my entire screen. Hey, Guillaume. I guess you see my screen, right? It looks like it's okay. So just before jumping into the deployment to production, I just want to say we are 10 stars close to the 1,000 stars on GitHub. So if people in the meeting didn't start yet, do it. So we reached like the 1,000 stars before the end of the community hour. But if you already start the repo, ask your coworkers. So we just reached 1,000 stars. But it will be like a cool milestone for us to reach the 1,000 stars. But yeah, that's what it is. Regarding like what we released in the last weeks, last 2 weeks, we released a few great things. The first one is the ability to export the stories by in PDF or HTML. So you have like a static thing that you can export and give to other people if they don't have any account on Now. And, oh, yeah, like, I'm sorry, I have to jump between like the different tabs. Then we added a few fixes, and last big thing we are working on is something around the cloud, because we're gonna release a cloud version of Now to ease the setup for people that do not want to self-host and need help to host Now. So we will host Now for people. And by working on the cloud version, we are making Now compatible with the multi-project setup. So the goal is for you to be able to have in one instance of Now multiple projects if you want, and have a switch of the project and being able to run an agent in one context folder that is related to one specific context folder, and switching to another context folder and run an agent on another context folder. If you have like different domains in large companies, this is something that we are seeing a lot. So that's the biggest features we worked on the last 2 weeks. I'm looking just at, because we shipped a lot of release candidate versions to try how the deploy was working. And yeah, that's mainly what it is. So when it comes to deployment with Now, I'm gonna draw a small Escalidio board just to give you a small summary of what it is. So most of the time, when you start with Nao, you work locally. This is the step that most of you have started to do. So you do first pip install Nao-core, and after this, what you do is most of the time Nao init, and after the Nao init, you do a Nao sync, and after the Nao sync, you will do most of the time. Sorry, you will do most of the time a Nao chat. Okay, a Nao chat, and from the experience and from the what we've seen, people using now, there are like two kind of persons. After the Now chat, you get like the great experience of Now. This is cool. You can chat with data. This is like a great out of the box experience. There is all the job that has to be done with the context engineering and so on. But let's put this on the side just one second. After the download chat, we have like two kind of people. The first bucket is people that have like an IT team that is, or ops platform team that is um, easy to reach and kind enough to help you self-host or deploy now in your company. And there is like the other bucket where it's like a bit harder to do it, or you don't want to bother the IT team or the ops team to do it, or you don't know how to do it. And so we added a new command to help you moving forward to a deploy version of Now. So it's going to be Now deploy. And with Now deploy, you will be able to push the context folder that you have into a Now instance that has been already deployed. So at the moment, it's like Now instance that have been deployed by us on the cloud that we will release in a few weeks. But it could also be a Now instance that has been already deployed inside your company. Um, by yeah, inside your company. So how it works actually. So when you are like locally, you run everything in your local, but when you deploy, it's on a remote server. And most of the time, people that will deploy now on a remote server will use the Docker image. So it can be like whatever service that runs a container that deploys the Docker image. If you are curious about it, the Docker image is named Get Now Now, and it's on Docker Hub. If you want to have a look at it, the documentation is on the GitHub, and easily you can find it easily on the curb. And what will happen when you do now deploy here? It will when you now deploy, it will push. So the now deploy command, just to give you an hint, now deploy command is URL API key. And when you do this, it will create a package of your local context folder and push it to the URL that you have given here on the remote server. And this is something that I will just showcase today. So you can just have a look. The goal for this, so any question in the chat about this or remark? No. So if I just explain a bit more why we do this and what are like the possibilities. So when you deploy a Now instance, so there is let's imagine a Now instance. So there is like the agent. The agents, in order to work, will need the context folder. So there is this context folder that is attached to the Now instance. And in order to make it work, you will need to either refresh this context folder or push it to the instance at the schedule that you need to do. So if I put this here, You will need at some points to move the context folder from your local stuff where you do the now sync to the remote server, or you will need to schedule on the remote server a refresh of the context folder. And we want to give you the possibility to decide what you want to do. So when you do now deploy, it's kind of a push of the context folder, because when you now deploy, you take the context folder that is local and you put it to a remote instance. But now Docker image also has the capabilities to do some pull. At the moment, the only pull that you can do is from GitHub. So if you have a context folder that is on GitHub, you can also do a pull this way. And this is like the kind of blocks we want to give you. So you decide how you want to get the context folder and how you want to attach it to your agents. Because depending on some systems, some people do not have the context folder in a GitHub repo. They just have it, I don't know, depends, locally, and they want to maintain it locally until it's ready to be used. And so you will have like the Docker deploy command to push the context folder to the remote server. So if I do, yes. Oh, it's clear, cool. And there is one guest, I will accept some. If I do a small demo of this, so I will up. Let me have a look. What is this? Okay. If I just show you a now config that I have, here I have a now config that is named GitHub agent. The goal of this agent is to be able to help us answering question about the GitHub repo, and also create issues on the repo when some people asked issues on the Slack. That's the goal of this this project. So here I have the now config. The now config is getting data from the BigQuery production. It gets, if I zoom in a bit, it gets all the tables that are related to open source, or the tables that are related to GitHub. Yeah, it connects to GitHub. It also gets the now repo, so the get now repo, which is the code of the now project. And if I go in my terminal, I can do now think, and now think. And if I launch now think, it will run. It will take a bit of time because we added a new feature that look at the query history in GitHub to analyze how the table are used. So here you can see that the sync, because I've activated the how to use here, will have a look at the whole query history of the project to identify what are the most common join on every table. Let me accept the person that I've been. Okay. So if I just give you an example, if I take the fact OSS event table, for instance, here I can see that this table has no description. We have like a bad on our tables. But here you can see that fact OSS table, most common join are with the table dim user and with the table fact OSS project daily. This table was referenced in 1,200 queries. We can see that there are like a few queries that have been run a lot of time on top of this table. So for instance, here, it's a DBT query. Obviously, it has been run like a lot of time. But if I go, for instance, on, I don't know, OSS daily, this one, we have like the DBT queries, but we also have this query that has been run 58 time, 50 time. So the goal here with this query history context pool, I would say, it's to give the agents more grounding around how the table are used by people at the company. or by whatever, as long as it belongs in the query history, and also to help the agents understanding what are the most common join when you use a table. So here, for instance, this table daily KPI is commonly joined with a fact OSS event. And the goal is to help the agent understand when you use a table, what are the common join you can use. So here I've run the thing. You can see that there are less tables because I've filtered out other tables. And now I can do now chat if I want to run now chat, but I can also do now deploy. And what I will do here, I will give a link to the instance of now that I've deployed already and give the now token that will let me push this on the instance. And here it pushed the GitHub agent on the instance here. So if I go on now, add preview, I can go inside my organization and here I can see GitHub agent. And if I look at the project GitHub agent that is here, am I looking at the right one? I'm not sure. Yes, I think I'm looking at the right one. The issue is that I pulled two, so I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. This one is the right one because here we can see that the local Christoph API key has been used just right now. And if I go in the file explorer, I can see that there are all my tables that have been synced that are available in this remote instance of Now. So it means that each time I will run Now deploy, this context folder will be redeployed to the remote instance. So for instance, if I go in the rules and change here and say all the time answer to me in French, and I redeploy now, here, if I look at the rules, I get all the time answer to me in French on the remote instance here. This is a remote instance, it's not local. And so now if I ask a question like, what is the latest GitHub issue opened? It should answer in French. Yeah, cool. It answered in French. And just to give you here, it used the GitHub MCP because on this project, I have set up the GitHub MCP server. So here I have the GitHub MCP server that is set up. In order to do it, what I've done is in the agent folder, I have the MCP JSON here. I will click on the MCP JSON. You can see my personal access token that I will revoke at the end of this meeting. But so here I have the MCP server that have been set up. And I have also a skill that is defined to explain when I open an issue, what I do want on GitHub. So here, the goal is, for instance, to have an agent that I can say, oh, someone told me there is this issue. Please open an issue on the repo and look at the code and help me find if someone else talked about this and so on. So the goal here is to create an agent that can answer on Slack to people asking issues and create directly an issue on GitHub so we can follow on our side. This is just an example of what you can do with now. If you set up like the skills, the MCP, and if you deploy it remotely, it's also available on Slack. Any question about this? No question. Cool. What else can I show you? Yes, the latest features around. So for instance, what I can do is I have a new chart. I can say, draw a chart of the issues opened uh, per week, whatever, something like this. So it will look at the data in the warehouse. Oh, wait. Oh, it's a bit stupid. Okay, so the chart is done. I can say add this to a story. So we already showcased the story, but I will just give you an update of what we just added this week. So now it's possible to download a story as a PDF. So here I get my story, which is kind of similar of the visual that you have here as a PDF. You get the date when it has been generated, and you can share it to everyone. It's also possible to get the story as an HTML file. So, for instance, if you want to keep this small interactivity and if you don't want to let people have access to now, here it's possible to also get the HTML and then share it to people. And there is still the live. I don't know if you were aware of it, but now you can create live story that will be refreshed at the schedule that you have decided here. And it will also refresh the narrative that is in the story. So if you have some text that is date dependent and data dependent, each time the story refresh, the text will be refreshed, keeping the same template structure. On this, the next features that we will add in the story, I hope you will like it, is the ability to have some filters at the top, because we know that in data you want to create some visual that can be filtered by your viewers in a sense. So the goal first with the stories is to replace a large part of the use cases that you have in your BI tool, because we think that a lot of the dashboards that you have in the BI tool should not be dashboards in a sense of the BI tool, but more just one-shot analysis or short-term analysis. And that's the goal with the stories. We want the stories to be some kind of replacement of what you were doing in dashboards when you were just doing some analysis. So we'll add the capabilities of filtering. So if you have some dimension, the agent will be able to add filters here. In the stories, you will be also able to edit a chart, a specific chart visually. At the moment, you can do it like with the charts, change the color to red, for instance, but it's something that you need to know that you have to ask the chat to do it. We will also add some visual capabilities, so you are able to change the type of the chart, the color of the chart, the text, the label, and so on. So it becomes also friendly as human to use it. Um, and the last thing on the story is the ability to, once a story has been refreshed, to get the content of the story by email, by Slack, so with some kind of notification. Because I don't know if you knew it, but with now you can, or it's already in production. This you can set up a SMTP server. Oh, I will not, because it's not really in the documentation. My bad on this. But if you have a look at the example here, you have these 5 variables. And so if you have a SMTP server already in your company, you can use it to let now send some emails. The kind of emails that you can send are the emails when someone shared to you a story, shared to you um, chat. When you have been added to a project, you can also receive an email. And so the goal is for people that are still using emails to be able to get also stuff by email, because in some companies, people are still looking at the emails. Uh, yeah. Is there any? We just stop sharing for one sec. Is there any remarks, question, stuff you wanna say? Do you have help for story parameters? Maybe just know what is possible to do. Yeah, that's the tricky part we have to find is because we have like a lot of features already now, and we need a way for you to know that the feature exists and for the stakeholders that the feature exists without having a UI that is like something super complicated with a lot of levers. So, and we don't want, yeah, you could read the documentation because it's written documentation, but this is super hard, like to have a look at the documentation, have a look at all the videos and so on. So this is some stuff we are working on the UI to make it way easier to understand what's available. And also on this, there is something that we will add really soon, which is the ability to decide the type of user that is using now. Because we've seen that we have two population of users that are using now, the data people and the non-data people. And when I said non-data people is stakeholders that are less technical or less geeks. And yeah, not really guests, but more stakeholders or people that are not used to C SQL, for instance. Because if I show my screen again, so I guess you see my screen, yeah. So for instance, this UI is, I would say, friendly for data person because here you have SQL. You can see the SQL. You can open the SQL on the right here. The goal here is also here to have some kind of SQL editor where, as a data person, you will be able to edit the SQL, run it, etc., and so on. But when you are someone that is not technical that much, it's a bit hard, I would say. So you will be able, as an admin, to give a profile to a user and say it's a data person, it's a non-data person, and the UI will be slightly simpler for non-data people. For instance, here the SQL will not be visible this way; it will be directly grouped in this and say comma one query, and so it's way more simple for non-data people and less, I would say, uh, yeah, more appealing in a sense, to say it a positive way. So this is something that we will add in order to make data people and not data people home in the tool. So we are the data team. We build for ourselves to answer other questions. But once live, I expect my stakeholder to go into now and find their own answers. Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, actually, and this is something I think we showcased it also last week. Something we really like is so if I share again. So let's imagine I have this story. This story has been shared. Okay, I have this story. I've shared this story to the company. So now I go on this story and someone has shared, I'm a stakeholder. Someone shared to me this story that is a live story. And I'm like, oh, but what is issue ouvert, which means open issues? I can just ask and say, uh, where does this comes from? And I can have a chat on top of something that has been shared to me in order to uh, get something that is a bit more friendly, and you can deep dive on stuff that has been shared to you. It's in a sense it's a deep dive. So here yeah, it's the title of the question, but what's an open issue? If I'm a bit stupid, I'm not sure this is something that people will ask, but oh, yeah, that's a feature that we added. And this chat here uh, so appears here, and it becomes also a proper chat that is threaded from a story that has been shared to you. Uh, Okay. I wonder if a better framework from your user ecosystem or segmentation is people who will configure now and use it locally versus people who will interact with now through chat. Some of the people are unlikely to have the time to interact deeply with now unless you offer them an easy channel for them, like the WhatsApp example you all shared recently. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, I'm thinking about it as just rereading. The segmentation people who will configure now and use it locally versus people who will interact with now through chat. The thing I'm not sure about that I disagree a bit is senior data people are unlikely to have the time to interact deeply with now. I'm not sure about this. The thing that we've seen is it's up to us to create like the tool where data people feel at home, but what we've seen is when you use AI to work on data, when it the more you ask question, the more you will ask question. It's like it's if you like the tool, if the tool is friendly to you, at the beginning you will ask a few questions a week, and then it will be a bit more, and then it will be a bit more, and then it will be a bit more, and at the end it will become your own tool in a sense. And this is something that we've seen. I think it's like a pattern for every AI app, where at the beginning people are do not have a lot of trust in the tool because it's an AI tool. You have to be careful about the answers and so on. And then you see the magic of it, and you see that you work way faster with it. You get your setup ready and so on, and and you ask more question, and then at the end you cannot do your job without it. That's a bit of the goal of every dialogue, in a sense. Yeah, that's true. People are afraid of feeling stupid, so they don't pose their question when they need to talk to a human, but they don't hesitate to ask stupid question to an AI. Yeah, that's true. And that for this, you can use like now in the web UI, but also on Slack. You can use it in a channel, or you can also directly talk to the chat app uh, in Slack. Um, yeah, but I think it's in a sense for us. If I just go back to the drawing board, the way we see it is so there is now backend in a sense here. And now backend is where all the adjusting stuff is happening. All adjusting stuff is happening here. Okay. When you look at the code, all the adjusting loop, everything is on the now backend side. And then our vision is that you can use now UI, you can use Slack, because Slack or Teams or whatever, but the messaging platform of your company. But you can also use, I would say WhatsApp because like you don't have Slack on your phone and so on, and so you want just to jump into WhatsApp to have a look at the marketing campaign that you have done on the weekend, and you want to make sure that you got some people from it, but you don't have like access at the Now UI or the Slack or the Teams. This is just like an example, but it's something that happens like people from stakeholders that are looking at the numbers on the weekend or during like the evening or stuff like this because they launch something and they just want to see if the metrics or if the stuff is working correctly. You can also use it from Cloud Code slash codex slash AI harnesses. So the vision for this is something that we will release, that you will be able from Cloud Code to also chat with the Now backend, probably through MCP. The goal for this is that you could also use Cloud Code to help you, and I say Cloud Code, but whatever, AI harnesses, but you could use this to help you work on your context folder, but also to create stories and then keep all this BI, agentic BI in the Now backend. So once you have created stuff here, it can be still seen in the Now UI or shared through the layer of governance that we are adding in the Now backend. Because the goal here is that you get all your how to say it, data access, I would say, in a sense, agentic data governance, because with all this AI that runs everywhere, when you have a warehouse, you want to make sure that the agent is not reading stuff that is not meant to be. And we want this governance to be done in Now because we have the context folder. We know what you have as assets in your warehouse, so the governance can be done here. And so you can use a lot of different clients, but all the stuff can be done in the Now backend. And then at the end, you will be able to use uh, the chat replay feature to just see what have been done, and you can also have a look at the costs to see how costly this stuff is and the cost of token and so on. Yeah, and about the cost, like Guillaume, you said, I work about the cost of agentic. My boss asked me to know how much it's for one answer. Maybe it's too good to share an evaluation of the cost. Mm, we have some metrics about this. Maybe I could share. We could share something like publicly. I will not share it right now. I have to maybe deep dive a bit on the data that we have. This is something that is still unanswered, to be honest. Depends on the policy of the company regarding the token, if you have like unlimited token or fake unlimited token or not. And also depends on the size of your context folder and the number of tables that you have and this kind of stuff. We did a lot of optimization to make sure that the context in Now stay pretty narrow, but depending on what you do and what you have, it can explode. And if it's the case, write to us and we'll find a way to optimize it, to be honest. And regarding context, if you like listening to me explaining how Now works, if I will do another stream about this to explain how the context work in Now. So just to give you a small explanation. So what we have is, let's say I'm a user and I send a message, okay? So I send a message and then the AI answer, and the AI answer with tool one. The tool one is, for instance, a list. Then tool two, that is, for instance, a graph. And then there is tool three, that is, for instance, a SQL query. And then the agent writes some text, and then you good. The way the context is managed now here is, so here the user message is, for instance, 100 tokens, because you just send a few tokens, like 2 sentences. The list gonna be, for instance, 1,000 tokens. The tool, the grep gonna be 1,000 tokens as well. The SQL gonna be, I don't know, might be 2,000 tokens. And the text that is outputted might be 100 tokens, something like this. The way it works is, if you don't know, the token that you will consume will be 100 token plus 1,000, then 100 plus 1,000, 1,000 plus 100 token, 1,000, 1,000, 2,000 plus 100 token, 1,000, 1,000, 2,000, 100. That's the way it works, because it's like a multi-step conversation. So each time, the first time it's going to be this, then you get the result of the second tool. So this going to be the input of the next tool. Then this is going to be the input of the text that's going to be sent, etc., etc. So that's how the LLM works, except that most of the time you can have a parallel tool calling, so it saves a bit of token. But this is how it works. And in Nao, we also have one thing, that is how a tool answer is represented in the context that is sent to the LLM. And so in the code base, we have a folder that is called tool outputs. Okay. And in tool outputs, you can see how we decided to format the output of a tool inside the context window. So for instance, when we list, I'm in the test folder, so it's not the right place. Tool outputs, well, this one. So here you can see for each tool how we decided to format it. So if I go, for instance, in the grep, you can see that for a grep, for a grep, for instance, if a grep has more than 10 files, it will be in the answer that will be sent to LLM will be, there is more than 10 files, redo like another research, because we decided to compact, not to make too much token in the context window. So this is something super important, and we have the same for execute SQL. So for instance, in execute SQL, the max row by default is we only send 20 rows of the output of the execute SQL that have been done to the LLM, so we are sure that we do not pollute the context window with stuff that is useless. Because, for instance, if you do a SQL query that has like 1,000 rows, for sure it will explode the context window. So by default, it's max rows 20. We have an issue that is open at the moment to find a way to make the LLM able to go through all the rows if something is in the rows that has been sliced out, because might be an issue, and sometimes the LLM might need to see more than the 20 rows. So yeah, that's something that we have. Oh, I didn't share my screen, right? Oh, sorry. Here in the code, it's in tool output in the GitHub repo if you want to have a look. And I had like a schema that was this way. So if you have like user message and 4 tools, it's gonna be a lot of tokens consumed because it's multi-step. Any question? Someone wants to say something? Oh, thank you, Dennis. Also, awesome. Also, what you said, Diego, makes a lot of sense between like the segmentation. People will configure now and use it locally versus people that use with the chat or with a remote instance. What we've seen also from the usage is that there are people that like to use now just locally. I don't know if there are people in the audience just using now locally and happy with this. Uh, but this is something that is interesting, and if it's the case, write to me, because this is something we want to understand why you just keep it local and why you are happy with this, because this there are like a lot of way to use now, and if you are just using it locally, this is super interesting for us. I use it locally, happy with it, but I'm building towards production for the team to use themselves. Yeah, doing it locally. Oh, this is interesting. Oh yeah, go ahead, Diego, if you want to speak.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the session. This is great. I am very, very interested in your tool. I think it's gonna, you know, solve a lot of issues. Um, let me think more about the question I posed. I think there's something very interesting here, because there are so many layers of users inside an organization, right? Especially if you think about the enterprise case, and all of them will have like different styles of interacting with Now and so on. But yeah, I really appreciate your insight. It's great. Once you use it, you get used to it. You like it. You use it more, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much.
thank you, Diego. That's interesting. So you use it locally, happy with it, but building towards production for the team to use themselves. Okay, and on this, you use it locally, but it's just for the moment to have a sense of the product. But once the product will be deployed, you will use the deployed version, or you will still stick with the local one.
Yeah, I guess that's how it, how good it's gonna be, right? To go right now, I'm using it locally because I just built like Claude skills to do basically the same thing. So I had the whole like context and all of the folder structure and everything that you do as well. Then I
Okay.
stumble upon Neo and just merged that into Neo instead, but basically was the same thing. So now instead of me using Claude Code in the terminal and the skills that I did for doing that, I use Neo, right? So I use Neo now locally to answer all of the questions I would answer anyway using the skills instead. But I guess once I'm confident that my data model and all of the data is modeled correctly and I have all of the correct guardrails in place and so on, I won't hesitate to put it in production. We also a small team. We are like 55 people or something. 30 or so being developers themselves. So I guess I'm building more to a more technical user base than many, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, that's good to hear. But I think from what we've seen from the first discussion with like a lot of enterprise, this is always deploying now is always a two-step process. The first one is make make the data team comfortable with it, and the data team use it, experience, get the first answer, and see what it does. And then once the trust has been built, deploy it to more people at the company.
I guess that's
And
exactly where I am, and that's also where I
yeah,
were with the skills for Claude, right? I'm still in the camp of this is almost too good to be true, right? Saving me tons and tons of time. So I'm still looking for where the errors lie, but I haven't found any in a long time now. So I just think this is too good to be true, and at one point I will have it in production.
yeah, that's interesting. And this is, I don't know if you've seen it, but this is also a debate that is on on LinkedIn regarding like benchmarks and stuff like this. I think, and we think that you should have some kind of unit test around some prompts that are super important to answer a few key metrics of the company and have a score on this. But apart from this, at some point you have to onboard people on it. To the earlier you do it, the easier it will be for them to learn on the curve and be able to ask more question and have more question and have more question and be able to be in this agentic era,
Yeah,
I would say.
so I think because I had a call with Claire the other week, and I think one of the things that I was thinking about was if you could do like a threshold, like in the docs, if you could put in like a threshold, so we know we measure MAU, so monthly active users, and I know that is somewhere between 10 and 15 million. So if all of a sudden the agent comes up with a number being 50 million, I would know that would be an error, but my users might not know that was an error, right? So trying to come up with some sort of like threshold based, because yeah, that I don't care much about the benchmarks, but I care about the guardrails and the thresholds being in place, right? So that's how I think about it. And then my next step right now is to get like a, because now I have the local POC. Now I want some users from my company to actually try it out. We are on Cloudflare, so I just need our platform team to set up some tunnels so they can just use my local host as a POC, just for
Okay.
giving some like 3, 4, 5 people access and try it out before we go full production. At least that was my intention.
Okay, makes sense. Cool. Only 4 minutes left. Is there any other questions, remarks? Just small survey. Would you be interested to, for now community hour, to be more like in the code, a bit like I did today, but more like coding together or working on a feature or like onboarding you on the code base, more like in the sense of community, so you can like also contribute to now because it's an open source project. So if there are features that you want to add because this is something that you want into the project, you should be able to do it. Would it be something interesting that we just showcase how you can like be onboarded on the project to contribute? Okay, cool. I see some thumbs up. So this is something that we can plan for another community hour. Cool. Is there any other topics you want to see like in the next community hours? I think maybe in the next one we're gonna bring someone to share now story and how now has been deployed at its company. But is there any group chat that we can join? Yeah, there is the Slack, the community Slack. So I give you the link of the Slack. I think it's this one. There is the Slack. And this is a good point. Maybe we should create a channel on Slack that is now contributing. So people that want to contribute can, we can all chat there. Awesome. So we're gonna stop here. I'm happy and sad at the same time because we have 995 stars on GitHub, 3 stars away from 1,000. But that's how it is. I think we're gonna reach it like next week, and so it's gonna be like a good first milestone. Thank you so much for being with us on this journey, and yeah, it's gonna like continue. I'm gonna stop here. I wish you a good end of day, and see you in 2 weeks for the next community hour. I think the next event we will have is for people in London, if any people in London here. We're gonna be, I think, at the end of the month on an event in London, like a demo event where Claire gonna do a demo of now. It's gonna be with the Light Dash folks that are also doing BI and open source. And we also might be in Berlin end of June, something like this. So yeah, that's what it is for like the events and the stuff. So thank you so much and see you soon. Bye, everyone.